This isn't my story, but it's one that my friend from Asia, whom I'll call Brad, went through when he was just 12 or 13 years old. Brad was a good-looking kid, and like most at that age, he had a few admirers. But there was one girl in particular, let's call her Katie, who was older, around 16, and her crush on him quickly became an obsession. She lived just down the road from him, and at first, Brad didn't pay her much attention. But soon, Katie started stalking him, both in person and online. It all began with harmless messages, like, "Hope you're doing well" or "Sleep tight." But then it escalated. She'd send him over 15 messages a day, constantly checking in on him. Brad started feeling uneasy when her messages became disturbingly specific. She'd say things like, "You should eat your lunch," right after he'd skipped a meal, or "I think your sister is hungry," when his little sister was crying at home. Brad, trying to escape this unsettling behavior, stopped using his phone and social media altogether. But Katie wasn't finished. Brad's mother was rarely home, so he often had babysitters. One day, to his shock, Katie showed up as his new babysitter. She looked after him and his siblings like nothing was wrong, but Brad felt uneasy, especially when Katie got very close to his mother. Then came the day when Katie approached Brad at school, saying his mother had to leave the country for a week. She claimed his mom had told her to look after him during that time. Brad felt uneasy but didn't want to go against his mother's supposed wishes. So, he went home with Katie after school. When he arrived at her house, her parents weren't there. Things became blurry in Brad's memory from here, as he was visibly shaken while telling me this part. He recalled that Katie started playing strange, disturbing games. She insisted on acting like his wife while he was the husband in a pretend family, or played other games like cops and robbers where she'd blindfold him and leave him in a silent room for hours. 5 days into staying at her house, Katie left for her part-time job, locking all the doors behind her. Brad stayed in front of the TV, trying to distract himself, when a terrifying news report came on. The police were searching for a missing child, and that child was him. Before Brad could take note of a number to call for help, the TV clicked off. Katie was standing behind him with the remote in hand. Panicking, Brad began crying and screaming. Katie tried to calm him, but he managed to break free and scrambled to open a window, crying out for help. Fortunately, a passing couple heard his cries and called the police. Within an hour, officers arrived and found him locked in her room, blindfolded, and with his hands tied. As he was still a minor, Brad doesn't remember exactly what happened to Katie after she was arrested. He only recalls the police taking her away while his mother held him tightly. Soon after, Brad moved to another country and has never seen Katie since. Yet, even today, he shudders at the mere mention of her name. When I was 17, I decided to spend the night at my friend's house after we had a marathon of scary movies. We were both feeling adventurous and wanted to do something thrilling. Not too far from his house, there was an old block of abandoned houses, scheduled for demolition. The area was surrounded by fences, plastered with "Do Not Enter" signs. The houses were in terrible condition, boarded up tight, with the doors and windows sealed shut. Despite the warnings, we decided to go for a walk around the site, curious to see the houses and maybe take some random photos. My friend knew of a spot where we could sneak in, so we made our way there. When we arrived, we noticed that every house was sealed off, and there was no way in. Then we spotted something strange, a window on the top floor of one house that wasn't boarded up as securely. We could see into the room. Curious, we snapped a photo with my friend's digital camera and went home. Later, while going through the pictures, we saw something that made our blood run cold. In the photo of the window, there was a woman. She was wearing a brown raincoat, her skin pale white, and her long black hair draped down. She looked incredibly sad. The thing is, when we took that picture, we hadn't seen anyone. Plus, the windows and doors were all boarded up tight, so no one could have been in there. Disturbed, we went back to the house to check again. Sure enough, everything was still sealed shut, and there was no sign of the woman. Who, or what, did we capture in that photograph?